What's up, everybody? I'm Tony,
And I'm Dustin.
and we are evenly matched. Today, we are talking about a subject very near and dear to everyone's heart: Legend of Zelda.
The Legend of Zelda.
Some of you may know that the new Zelda Triforce Heroes for 3DS just came out. Looks amazing. Looks like a fun game.
It does. It looks pretty cool.
It does, and it's got the three-player Four Swords co-op action, which we're excited to get into again someday.
Cool.
So-
Yeah. Only 3 players, though, rather than 4, which
Yeah.
is odd, since I'm certain that the 3DS could do 4 players. Anyway, off topic.
Anyway, so getting back on topic, we brought up a question the other day that's kind of a interesting question that I think everyone has an opinion on. The question is Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, is it getting stale?
Is the series as a whole getting stale?
Is the series getting stale?
Is that the question you're asking me today?
It is.
All right.
I want to know.
Well, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's getting stale? I mean, it's kind of a hard question to answer, to be completely honest.
It is. It's tough. I mean, I love Zelda. I've loved it since. I mean, I didn't play it back in the Super Nintendo days, but I played it starting with N64, and fell in love with the game and the series. Majora's Mask was amazing, and all the way up through Skyward Sword. I feel like nowadays the games are all becoming the same. When you look at Skyward Sword and Wind Waker, and you look at all these different games that have come out, you go through dungeons, you get the items, which is kind of what you want out of a Zelda game. But then you get to that point where they're like, okay, now go find the Triforce pieces, and it's kind of done that before. I don't want to do that again.
Right. And it's kind of a weird thing because they try to alleviate that monotony or the sameness with a lot of the Zelda games with games like Triforce Heroes or other games in the series that are completely different, and a lot of people get upset about that. I mean, I haven't heard anybody get upset about Triforce Heroes, but I'm talking about like just people get upset in general because it's not a Zelda game. It's not a continuing franchise. It's not a main storyline arc. They want just the main ones, not these side missions.
Yeah.
Essentially. So, but then you get all these main games, and some of them are pretty unique and pretty cool. But Skyward Sword, while it had a really cool storyline, kind of annoyed me because I did feel like it was getting very samey in a lot of aspects. Like I felt like they kind of ran out of ideas in some areas, so they were just kind of reusing assets.
Yeah, I felt that way too, and I think you kind of touched on the idea of people not liking side quests, and we look at games like Hyrule Warriors, which is definitely not a generally accepted Zelda game, even though it was super fun. It definitely wasn't a game that you'd expect from the Zelda series.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also look at games, like the Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks that were probably okay games.
No, screw Phantom Hourglass. That game
Phantom
was awful.
Hourglass had its issues.
It was so bad.
Everything was great except for one thing, and that was just going through the same dungeon over and over again. And
That-
even the touch controls were bad too. Like it had a lot of problems.
You know what? Actually, the touch controls were not terrible, but that dungeon that killed it for me. I can't. No. No.
It was a poor design choice for that game, and as I was playing it, I thought it was cool because all the gems that you collected, all the special, the fire token that you had to get in the fire dungeon was really cool, and then you get to that dungeon again, and it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
for
but-
me, like my favorite Zelda games, and I don't know if how other people feel about this or not, but my favorite Zelda games are actually the ones where it's still Zelda, but I feel like they do something unique. And usually those don't really involve Ganon either. I mean, I know the whole Zelda storyline revolves around the three, Triforce pieces. So you got Zelda, you got Link, and you got Ganon. But my favorite ones are the ones where it doesn't involve Zelda and it doesn't involve Ganon.
Mm-hmm.
My first ever Zelda game that I actually played was Link's Awakening on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
I loved that game, and that had nothing to do with Ganon or Zelda. She wasn't even in there. So I love that game. One of my other favorite games in the franchise was Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking loved that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really, really liked Twilight Princess as well. Because, it had Zelda and it had Ganon, but Ganon didn't come until like way at the end. And it was more like Midna was there, and you had Zant, who was the bad guy. So I kind of liked that too. Like I feel like when they do something different, it keeps me more intrigued.
It's a huge payoff.
Yeah,
For sure.
and I think that for me that's kind of along the lines of what it is. Like Mario, I don't care if Bowser kidnaps Mario or kidnaps
Princess.
he wants to
Mario.
kidnap Mario. No. So yeah, if Bowser kidnaps Peach and you have to go rescue him, Mario doesn't need a storyline. It's literally just I want to play stages. But I feel like Zelda should be more than I want to play through dungeons. I feel like it needs that storyline, and when it's the same storyline used over and over again, it gets monotonous.
Yeah, and I feel like, I do like the aspect very much so of going through dungeons and solving the puzzles and figuring out the dungeon and getting the new item and going to the next area. Now that is a great attraction for Zelda. However, if you're not doing it for any purpose, then there's really no reason to do it. And that's where the story comes in. But I think one of the big things about Zelda that really drew people in from back when I started playing was that between the Super Nintendo version and the N64 version, there was like 10 years time between those two games. That was a lot of time to work out a new game, find a new storyline, to get something that works, to develop on a brand new system. There was a lot of time there, and that was great. And you look at games like Metroid and a little bit Star Fox, where they haven't really made new games every year, but it seems like Zelda has a new game twice a year, maybe once a year, twice a year, and it's like, oh my god, like slow down, like there's only so many dungeons I can do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, I can kind of see your point, and going back on the difference between the Super Nintendo and the N64 Zelda games, I remember when the N64 Zelda game first came out, I was actually upset about it because I was playing through it and I was watching my friends play through it, and I remember, and again, this goes back on my interest in having a good storyline in a Zelda game. I was upset because I was like, this is just a 3D rendition of the Super Nintendo game. Like, there's little things that are different, like Dark World rather than being in the future, and but overall, I mean, you were rescuing the sages, you were fighting Ganon, you travel to this other place, and I just felt like it was just kind of the same thing. But years later, when I go back and look at it, I realize that it is different. It is still using a lot of the same storyline aspects, but I feel like Ocarina of Time is a superior game just because of the cinematic aspect that they did and what they achieved with the 3D spec. Anyway, that's kind of aside the point. I guess I can see where you're coming from, just because I don't want Zelda to become Call of Duty. I don't want it to come out every year. I don't want a new one. But I mean, it's kind of a good question to ask. Before Triforce Heroes, what was the last one that came out?
I think it was the Majora's Mask remake came out.
Right.
Which, you can count that if you want to, but I mean, it is a Zelda game, and it was fun to play.
It is, and people were asking for that for a long time.
It's been a while, but then before that was Link Between Worlds, I think.
Oh yeah, now that was another good one. I liked Link.
Yeah,
Between
and I've heard
Worlds.
good things about that one too. So I can't really say that necessarily was a bad decision. But then I think it was Skyward Sword, and then Twilight Princess, and then the 3DS ones that came out.
Are you talking about Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, or are you talking about just the Ocarina of Time remake?
The DS ones, sorry. The regular DS.
Oh, regular DS, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit
Yeah.
Tracks? Meh, I say to both of those.
Yeah, exactly. Meh.
Meh. Actually,
I
I don't know.
think
Spirit Tracks I heard was okay, but
it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay.
Right.
So, looking back at, I think what needs to be done, or looking forward, I suppose, to what needs to be done. We have the new Zelda coming out for the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
Looks amazing. I mean, I don't think anybody can look at that game and say that they're not going to want to play it, or that it doesn't look amazing. Question mark on when it's coming out. Could be 2016, could be next Nintendo console.
It's a good point. There's been a lot of rumors about that NX.
Yeah, that's true.
It
So
could be on that next. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. They've done it before. They pushed back Twilight Princess from the GameCube and put it on the Wii. I mean, so it's a system seller.
Yeah, and I don't know where they're going to go with it, or if, for me, I would love to see the one on the Wii U be the last one for a while and start focusing on other franchises to get those back, like Metroid and Star Fox even F-Zero. I mean, they could do so many different franchises to bring those back,
Right.
and kind of put Zelda on the side for a while.
So let me ask you this then: if they were to, in this new Zelda game that they're making for the Wii the Wii U slash the NX, whatever it goes to, they're doing a lot of improvements to it. Like from what I've seen in the videos so far, it's going to have a huge open world to roam around in. So it's not going to be like Ocarina of Time where it looks like a giant open world, but it's really just an enclosed-in field.
Right.
It's actually going to be a big open world where it's going to take you a long time to get from one end to the other. Looks like Link is quite different in this game. Real-time combat, from what it looks like, is going to be changed quite a bit. So I'm expecting a lot of good things. But what are you looking for that you think that will change the series and make? Are you not wanting Zelda games as much, or do you actually want them to kind of like reinvent themselves a little bit and come up with something new?
I would like for it to be a little different. I would like to not get to the end of the game and be like, okay, I'm going to go to the final dungeon now, and then to have that sack of bricks hit you in the face where it's like, oh no, you have to go find the Triforce pieces instead.
They only did that in one game, didn't they?
Did. Like twice, at least.
Freaking.
It's Wind Waker and Skyward Sword, and maybe Twilight Princess.
Wait, Skyward Sword had that too?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
See, I didn't get that far. I got where I had to go repeat the dungeons again, and I got bored. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I
thought that was interesting, but it wasn't quite the same.
I was burned by Phantom Hourglass. Sorry.
I think, we know Ganondorf's the king of evil. He's Triforce of power. All that stuff, and that's cool. Maybe have a different enemy. I mean, Majora's Mask was great because the bad guy wasn't Ganon. It was a different bad guy, and he was really interesting, cool bad guy. Same with Vati and I think it was Minish Cap.
Yeah.
That was a cool game, just because, and I think he was in Four Swords also. But there's a lot of interesting facts about interesting enemies that you can add into Zelda, or you can make it different. But you don't have to use the same cookie cutter experiences for every Zelda game.
Right.
The story's been different. It's been different Twilight worlds and Dark worlds, and it's great. But just kind of mix it up,
And that's why I like those little side games. Like, I think that's what Triforce Heroes is doing right now. Like, it's not focused around Ganon, from what I can tell. I don't know. I haven't played it yet. I want to. I haven't played it. So it might be focused around Ganon. I don't know. But it doesn't look like it is. It looks like it's more just kind of one of those side adventures, kind of like Link's Awakening, kind of like Majora's Mask. But from the way this new Zelda game is looking, I do hope it is Ganon this time. Like, this time I kind of hope it is, because if that game is as grand a scale as what they're making it out to be, and Nintendo sometimes can promote it being a grander scale than what it is, but even if it's a fraction of what they're saying that it's going to be an epic game. And being an epic game, I want it to have an epic boss. And Ganon is an epic boss, just not when he's around all the time.
Yeah.
It's like he's supposed to be this bad evil that gets like reincarnated every like 100 years or so. But when he's there like all the dang time, it's like, you need to sit back, buddy. You need to calm your tits.
I saw a picture the other day, and someone drew it. I don't know who it was, but I saw this picture of Link when he was like in his 40s or 50s, and he had all this gear on him, and he was like super decked out, and you don't really know where he's been or what he was doing, but he looked like he was still adventuring and still finding new things. And I thought that was a really interesting picture because it told a huge story just in that one picture.
That's a really cool idea. Why don't they ever, like, they always promote Link, like even in Ocarina of Time when he goes 7 years in the future.
Yeah.
He's what, like that's what always got me. He was like 8 years old when he was a kid. So if it's like 7 years in the future, he's only 15.
He was like 10.
Was he? No.
I think he was 10.
Even still, adult Link was 17.
Yeah.
That's still not an adult in my opinion. It's
kind of an adult.
It's on that verge, but it was just one of those things, like the year difference between when he was young and when he was adult looks so different for 7 years. Like, I'm like, no, but that's a really cool idea, having like a really mature Link, like a 30 or 40-year-old Link who has all this experience under his belt and stuff. And
I think there's a huge story to tell with just that one image alone. And I'm sure if you haven't seen it, or if we don't have the picture up, you're probably picturing this in your head, and you're like, that would be a very cool game. And at this point, Link's already probably vanquished Ganondorf. So what's he doing? What's he doing now? What's he been up to? Or maybe he hasn't. Maybe he's just grown up and he's got bored of his little village and went off on his own to find things, and he's already done his own thing for a while. I mean, who knows? But that would be an interesting way to shake things up for the future. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can take this storyline. I think I read a I think you told me about a thing where Zelda and Ganon were like getting married.
Oh yeah, there's a comic online. It's
comic,
pretty
yeah.
cool. It's somebody had the idea of them coming to a truce with a marriage. So Zelda proposes to Ganon that they get married so that he can rule over the kingdom and not kill anybody, and
Yeah.
he can. The advantage to him is that he doesn't get killed by the hero of time. So I mean it's a good trade-off.
Yeah,
But
it's interesting way to look at things, and I think stories like that could very easily be incorporated into a next Zelda game or whatever. But it's not going to happen if we keep producing Zelda after Zelda after Zelda,
Right.
once a year. So,
But the only thing I have to say as a counterpoint to that, and this is, it's more just history repeats itself. And I love Nintendo. I do. I love what they do. They make great games. They make fun games. They make quality games. Like that's the thing that stands them out is that you play a Nintendo game and you don't feel like you wasted $60. You feel like you're getting your money's worth because this is a good game.
Yeah.
And if it's not a game that's worth $60, they usually price it at $40. They're good about knowing how good their quality is. But when it comes to storytelling and everything else, I don't feel like they really excel that much. They can create a baseline story, but they never really come up with anything that's going to be... it's not going to be anything like Bioshock Infinite, where you're just going to go, oh my god, oh, that is genius. I didn't see that coming. Holy moly. Like,
yeah.
I don't foresee them doing anything like that because I wish they would. I really wish they would. I wish they would take Zelda in a weird direction like that and just run with it. But I feel like they always just kind of play it safe because they're afraid that... I don't know. I don't know if they're just not capable of coming up with a good story or if they're just playing it safe. It's hard to say.
And in their defense, too, I mean, Zelda it's going to sell. When you put it out, people are going to buy it. Doesn't matter if it's Phantom Hourglass or, Triforce Heroes or the new Wii U Zelda, people are going to purchase it. So, if they're looking to boost their revenue by, several $100,000 in 1 month, a new Zelda game, that's all you need.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's that mentality that gets, Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and those other games where they are now,
Yeah,
put out the
exactly.
game to make a quick penny and, it's a good franchise, it's going to sell, but... And I'm not saying those games are bad. They do consistently put out pretty decently high-quality games each year, but at the same time, people have a lot of complaints. Like, this is the same thing I just played last year. Where's the innovation? Where's the new stuff? Where's, and I do agree. I think Nintendo needs to take a step back from Zelda just for a little bit. I mean, as much as some fans may hate to hear it.
Yeah.
But take a step back and come up with just a really kick-ass Zelda game.
Just chill. Just chill for a little while.
Just Netflix and chill.
Just Netflix and chill.
just cut it out, Nintendo. I don't know. We haven't really had a big grand Zelda adventure game, I don't think, since Skyward Sword. But there have... Oh, no, I guess... I'm sorry. I keep forgetting about Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
But that was a really good game. You need to play it.
I do. I will sit down and play that one. It's on my DS, and I just haven't played it. I don't know what it is. I think it's because it's on my DS. I downloaded it instead of buying the cartridge. That's why I haven't played it.
Yeah. I think once you start, you'll really...
I probably will not stop, yeah.
No, it's addicting. It's not the longest Zelda game, but it's a lot of fun. But even still, it was a great game, but I don't feel like it was a major epic game. Like, I'm waiting for that next epic one. And I think that the Wii U one is going to be it.
Alright, well that about wraps it up for us. What do you think? Do you think Zelda's getting stale? Can you not get enough Zelda? Do you think Nintendo should take a couple of years off before making a new Zelda game? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, click that like button, and if you want to see more videos, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.